Good morning all. Today's session is going to be on regular written in Saral PayPack filing. Like I was saying, today's session is completely in Saral PayPack for my regular written filing. I'll show you from the basic file creation. Okay, what all needs to be done before filing. That procedure will be shown today. Like I said, I'll be starting with the normal file creation. Okay, so from starting I'll show you new. I'll create a new file. The file is created. So first and the foremost thing what we need to do is I'll go to company details. I'll enter the company details here. The responsible person, the company address. Like we all know in the software, all the gray fields are mandatory, the white is optional. If there's ESI, please enter the ESI number as well. Okay, since we're talking about TDS, first thing what we do is in company details under TAN, I need to enter my TAN number. And under company type, we have three options, whether it is government, whether it is public sector, or it is others. In this particular session, I'll go for others. I'll click on PT as well. I'll click on save. This is the first settings which I do for my TDS calculation. Okay. Next what I'll do, I'll come back to create new month. Now, since it is for my regular written filing through PayPack, I'll start from the first quarter. So I'll say let us start our salary calculation from April. I'll click on save. So the month is created. Once I create the new month, you can see all the options are enabled in the software. And we can see an option called as TDS details also is enabled over here. That is because in initial setting, company details, I have entered this details. I have entered the TAN number and I have given the company type as others and saved. Then only I'll get this option called as TDS over here. PT rate editor, I'll say since I am only under one branch, I'll say only in Karnataka itself and click on save. Okay, I just clicked on fill default. The PT rates are fetched automatically. Okay, so that was the setting which needs to be done. PT was done. Now in PF ESA rate editor, I'll click on my restriction on PF as well, both from employee as well as employer side. Now the initial setting part is done. Now we'll go to masters. Under masters, we'll go for define salary heads. Here, other than my basic PF, PT, ESI, TDS, apart from that, any other entries can be done here. So what I'll do, I'll enter other heads which is required for my salary calculation, as well as mapping needs to be done for these heads for TDS calculation as well. Conveyance, special allowances, other allowances as well. I have just taken few heads based upon your company requirements. How many ever salary heads you have defined, you can define it here. I'll just take these 6 heads. Apart from my earning part, I'll go for my deduction also and enter my deduction detail as well. Okay, this is the first entry which needs to be done. I'll click on save. It is done. So now again mapping needs to be done. So I'll come back to assign it to salary structure. Now here, very important, the mapping needs to be done so that it is considered for our TDS calculation. We all know like heads like basic, DA are completely taxable. Okay, other heads like HRA is partially taxable. So for that, mapping needs to be done so that the software will take care of the calculation automatically. I will click it as pay days. I'll take calculation type as lump sum. PF, yes. ESI contribution, yes. Round off, higher rupee, and TDS reference must be done on basic. So this is mapping which needs to be done so that this will consider for my TDS calculation. I'll go for DA, pay days, lump sum, the same PF ESI calculation. And here we have two options. You can see DA consider for HRA exemption as well as DA not consider for HRA exemption. Okay. So basically what it means is, like we all know, for our HRA calculation, there are three steps. If you're in Metro City, it is 50% of your basic plus DA. Second step is rent paid minus 10% of your basic plus DA. Last is actual HRA received. In these three steps, whichever is the least, I am going to minus that with my actual HRA. So what answer I get, I will consider that amount for my TDS calculation. That is taken care automatically from a software. So here the mapping, it is asking DA considered for HRA exemption. If you want both basic and DA to be considered for HRA calculation, please click on DA consider for HRA exemption. If you're saying no, I want only basic to be considered for my HRA calculation, then click on DA not consider for HRA exemption. So basically what we do is, all the time we click on this option saying DA consider for my HRA exemption, and I'll click on save. It is done. Similarly, I'll do it for other heads as well. I'll go for my HRA now. Pay days. Again, calculation, in our example purpose, I'm taking lump sum. In your cases, any type of calculation type is mapped, not an issue. So for my calculation, I'll take lump sum. I'll just click on ESI, round off, and here I'll map it to HRA. Save. I'll go to conveyance now. Same thing, pay days, lump sum, ESI, because ESI is calculated on my complete gross salary, only my earnings, conveyance. From this particular financial year, basically everyone has gotten idea about this, or basically some information about this. My conveyance as well as medical reimbursement has been clubbed together, and a standard deduction of 40,000 is being considered now. So these two heads are combined. A standard deduction of 40,000 will be considered. That I'll show you as we go on in our payroll processing. Okay, I'll click on update. I'll go for other allowances, pay days, lump sum, ESI. Okay. So other than my conveyance allowances, if I have any allowances like my special allowances, other allowances, I need to map it to my other allowances. Now we know only HRA is partially exempted. Other heads are completely taxable. But once if I take on other allowances, TDS reference, you can see other allowances. Next to that, there's an option called as E. It is basically my exemption limit. And again, this is based upon the company requirement. If you want it to be completely taxable, don't enter anything here, just click on save. But if you're saying no, for other allowances, I need certain amount to be exempted. So what you need to do is click on maximum exemption limit, give on 3,000. So for this particular head, if I give on 10,000, 3,000 will be exempted, 7,000 will be considered for my TDS calculation. Okay. If it is fully exempted, whatever amount you're given, you want to completely exempt it, click on this option. Close. And I'll click on save. I'll take it as completely taxable only. Similarly, I'll map special allowances as well. Okay, and again here I'll map it as other allowances. And I'll click on ESI and click on save. Okay, so canteen is there. If you want this to be considered for TDS calculation, you can consider it. Or if you don't want, what I'll do, I'll go for my lump sum. If you don't want to consider this head, you can click on none. Okay. For I don't want this head to be considered for my calculation, so I'll click on none and click on save. So this is done. So this mapping is very important. Based upon the mapping done here, the TDS amount is calculated automatically. Okay, so I'll click on save. Next I'll go to my employee entries. Now I'll enter my employee details. Okay, I'll click on save. Okay, so now I need to enter the designation as well. Once I'm entering my PAN details, make sure the designation as well as the date of birth is entered. I will take it as manager and click on save. Okay, now I'll click on PAN. I'll enter the PAN of an employee. Like we all know, if PAN is not available, if PAN is not given, if PAN is invalid, 20% on your entire income will be deducted. So it is better you ask your employees to give a PAN and you verify it right away. So what I'll do, now I'll verify this PAN details. Before that, I'll just enter the date of birth. Okay, save it. After saving it, I'll click on verify. So directly what happens here is, once I click on verify, it takes me to my income tax department database. So basically what it says here, it says PAN is valid and present in income tax department database. So no need to go again to department and just verify this PAN. Directly a link is given here. You can directly verify it. And okay, so one employee was entered. Similarly, I'll enter other two employees for our TDS calculation. I'll enter an employee called as Padma. Salary structure. I'll give the PF number as well and click on save. So two employees are there. So three employee details I have entered. Okay, and click on PF number should be different. Okay, I have given the same PF number. Okay, so I need to enter the PAN as well. So before before making any TDS calculation, make sure that you verify your PAN first. Okay, I need to enter this PAN as well. Enter the PAN as well. Okay. Save. 1 second. Sorry for that. We'll come back again to our employee details. PAN is given for Harsha. Okay, for Padma needs to be given. For Rahul, PAN is given. Okay, so I'll just enter the details again. See and save. So I entered three employee details. Now what I need to do is I need to give salary for these employees. So I'll go to salary. Pop-up comes. I'll enter the salary for all the employees. $15,000, $5,000, $5,000, Okay, and canteen I'll give 1000 and click on save. For other employees also I'll give the salary. 15, 12, 1000, 1000 and 10,000, and again here I'll enter the canteen value as well and click on save. So I guess for all the employees the salary has been given. Okay, for this employee salary is not given. Okay, so we have entered all the details regarding all the employees. Close, save. Okay, so the details have been entered. It is done. So basically what we did was we verified all the employees PAN as well. Okay, and before going for employee PAN verification, first we went to initial setting company details, entered the TAN number. Next we went to assign as to salary structure and we did the mapping as well. Okay, now before going to my TDS details, there are certain options which I want to consider for my TDS calculation as well. So for that, for example, like reimbursement is there, bonus is there, ex gratia is there. If you want additional earning and deduction, that also can be considered for my TDS calculation. Arrears also is there. So we will check out one by one all these calculations. First I'll go for my reimbursement. For that, initial setting, option setting, additional, reimbursement, and click on save. Okay, once I click on save and a pre-salary transaction, I'll get reimbursement. Click on master. Okay, under reimbursement type we have 4 types of reimbursement: medical reimbursement, leave travel allowances, other reimbursement, food coupons. For our training session I'll show you for LTA as well as food coupons. Like I was telling, in this particular from this particular financial year, conveyance and medical reimbursement are clubbed together. So a standard deduction of 40,000 will be exempted from our salary. So I'll give it as LTA. It is nothing but my leave travel allowances. For a block period of 4 years, I'll get 2 LTAs. If I don't utilize both of them, one will be lapsed, one will be carry forward. Now what I need to do is, I'll say paid in salary, I'll go for the lump sum calculation. Under TDS reference, I need to map this so that I'll consider this for my TDS calculation. If I don't map this, it won't be considered. So very important is, I need to select leave travel allowances and exemption. How we are doing it? Completely exempted, yeah, manually you're going to exempt it, or unless the employee gives the bill details, then you're going to exempt it. What I will do is, where most of us follow, we'll do for bill amount and click on save. Okay, okay, so the bill details must be given so that exemption will happen. And next is, I'll go for my food coupons. Food coupons also is entered. A reimbursement type, I need to select food coupons itself, and under TDS reference I need to map it to free food and non-alcoholic beverages. So you can see here the TDS reference as given in assign age to salary structure, the same options are coming here as well. So based upon your requirement, based upon what entries you have done, you can map them accordingly. So for food coupons, I'll go for free food and non-alcoholic beverages. I'll click on paid in salary and I'll click on save. My entries have been done. There's option called as other reimbursement where you can give your petrol, mobile. For that you can give. Okay. For our example, I'll just take for LTA and food coupons. Now I'll click on save. It is done. So what I'll do, quickly we'll go to already in master I've done the entries. Now I need to go to allotment. Under allotment, for which all employees which all employees have given this option. You can select that employee and you can enter it. I'll go for LTA. You can select the block period. Multi-allotment also is given for all employees, or for selected employees also you can enter it. I'll just give for one employee. For the entire financial year, he is going to get up to 1 lakh rupees and save. I have selected the financial year. Okay. Save. It is done. Okay. I'll come back again to my pre-salary transaction, reimbursement. I'll go for my claim. Let us claim this as well. And I'll go for LTA. Okay, I'll go for financial year. I'll go for block period. I'll give the date. I won't consider the entire 1 lakh amount. I'll just consider 10,000 rupees. April. Save. Okay, so this is done. So we'll come back to this later. I have just mapped this for my TDS calculation. Let us do for food coupons as well. I'll go for allotment, and I can allot for multiple employees. For all the employees, I'll give 1000. Refresh. Click on save. It is done. Okay, so let us come back to this later. When I'm coming for my computation details, I'll show you how the mapping is done, how the amount is calculated for my TDS as well. Okay, so now I'll come for my TDS details. The first option, what you see under TDS details, is option settings. Select the required financial year. Make the required selections. If you're staying in a metro city, please click on metro. This again is for my HRA calculation. If it is metro city, the first step is 50% of basic plus DA. If it is non-metro city, it is 40% of my basic plus DA. I'll say non-metro city, HRA monthly. We click on this option basically because what the current month rent you are given, that month should be considered for your HRA calculation. Then we'll click on this. For example, if 10,000 is the rent which I am giving in this particular month, after 2 months the rent has been increased to 12,000 or 13,000. I want the software to calculate based upon the present month rent given. So that time I'll click on HRA monthly. Okay. Okay. Second option is non-editable IT details. If I click on this option, basically what happens, I cannot edit any of my income tax details. Okay. Second is standing instruction extrapolate. If there is any advance loan insurance that needs to be considered for my TDS calculation, then I'll click on this option. Okay. One more option is calculate on proof amount. Very important. I'll click on this option. Basically what it means is, if I click on calculate a proof amount, for example, if I am an employee and I'll tell HR for this particular financial year, my investment is up to 1,50,000. Orally I'll tell my HR this is what is going to be my investment details. But proof amount, calculate on proof amount, what happens is, no problem, whatever I have told is not considered until unless I submit my required bill details. What bill details amount I have given, till that much only it will consider for my TDS calculation, not the amount which I have said. So if you click on this, very good. Until unless you enter the bill details, only what amount you have entered, only that much will be considered for my TDS calculation, not the entire amount. So please click on this so that I'll show you when I'm doing the entry also. Even though the employee says 1,50,000 or 2 lakhs for a year, based upon what he or she gives the bills, only on that it will calculate. That is what is called as calculate on proof amount. I'll click on save. I'll click on close. Second option, it is bulk TDS update. And again here, it is only for my viewing purpose. You can select, refresh it. You can see for all the 3 employees, the PAN has been given. If you want to bifurcate the employees, meaning if I right click on it, it gives me these 4 options. If you want to show all the employees, you can see, click on all the employees will be displayed. If you want to see only show employees with TDS details, you can click on this. If you want to click on show employee without TDS, even that will be displayed. Or you only want to see those who are eligible for TDS, click on this option. And again, this is only for my viewing purpose, nothing else. Okay. Okay. I'll click on save. And again, it is only for my viewing purpose. Next, after my option setting is done, after I go on my bulk TDS update, I'll go for more employee details. Basically, what displays over here is, apart from my salary, if there's any investment which I have done for this particular financial year, I can enter it over here. Okay. If there's any rent paid details, if you want certain exemption on Hra calculation, you need to enter the required rent details. Okay. I will say 10,000. If you're saying you want it for the entire financial year, you want to enter 1 lakh, click on it. 8,333 rupees will be considered for every month. One more important point which needs to be kept in mind is, if an employee rent crosses 1 lakh for the entire year or 8,333 rupees per month, the owner PAN details must be captured under this particular screen itself. Below you can see PAN details. Click on PAN details, select the required employee and enter the owner PAN details. This is very important. If my rent crosses 1 lakh a year or 8,333 rupees per month, the owner PAN details must be maintained. It is mandatory. So enter the PAN details here and save. If they are not giving PAN details, then the rent must be below 8,333 rupees. That must be entered. If you want the actual amount to be considered for exemption, please collect the PAN of the owner from your employees. Okay. Okay. So for Rahul, I'll say that Hra monthly, I will consider from. So what happens, I clicked on that option called as Hra monthly. Basically, based upon the present month entries which I have done for Hra details, that will be considered for my TDS calculation. That was about my rent paid details entry. If there is any self-occupied property or letter of property details regarding an employee you want to enter, you can enter it over here. I will say, okay, I'll go for Padma itself. Here, she is given a letter of property and she needs to enter the letter of property details. Here, we are combined both for self-occupied and lettered over here itself, principal amount, both must be combined and entered here. Apart from that, we have bifurcated the interest amount. It is different for different self-occupied as well as letter of property. That can be entered here. Since for this particular employee, she is getting rent of rupees 2 lakhs, I am entering it over here. Okay. If there's any municipal tax paid, enter it. And if she is paying any interest, she's taken loan, she's paying interest as well, that interest amount for the entire year needs to be entered here. Okay. This basically we collect all these details at the end of the financial year. I am just doing it for our training purpose. I am entering all the details in the first quarter itself. And again, like I was saying, filing depends upon the employer. If they want to do it on quarterly basis, it can be done, or most few of them do it yearly once. Again, it is completely left to the employer. So this, at the end of the financial year, a mail will be sent to all the employees saying that this investment details, if you are invested in this particular financial year, please do inform us, so that we can enter that in the software and the exemptions can be made accordingly. Okay. So this was about my self-occupied letter of property details. If there is any self-occupied property details which you want to enter, for example purpose only, I will take for one employee, Rahul. I will say it is a self-occupied property and he's borrowed loan after April 1999 and he's paying an interest amount up to 1,25,000 for the entire financial year. Okay. One more important point which needs to be noted down is, if an employee declares both self-occupied as well as letter of property, and if the interest amount is crossing more than 2 lakhs for each. For example, for an employee, he is given self-occupied property as 2 lakh rupees interest amount paid for the entire financial year. For letter property as well, 2 lakh rupees is given. So total of 4 lakh rupees he spent on self-occupied and letter property. But the department, what they have did is, they are not going to consider the entire 4 lakh rupees. They're only going to consider 2 lakh rupees for the particular employee. Okay. Okay. So that was about my self-occupied and letter property details entered. And if you want to give children education allowances or child hostel allowances, if there is any for any particular employee, if there is any exemption, that details can be entered here. Like we all know, children studying allowances, for one kid 100 rupees exempted, maximum 2 kids 200 rupees is exempted. Okay, and if you go for child hostel allowances, for per kid 300 rupees exempted, maximum of 2 kids 600 rupees is exempted. In this particular screen, we can only enter the number of kids. We cannot enter the rate. Rate I'll show you later. I'll just consider for one employee. I will say 2 are going for school and 1 is staying in hostel. Okay. Most of us, what we do is we map this to our salary itself, so that exemption will take place in the salary as well. That also can be done. Okay. So under more employee details, we have just checked out the rent paid details. We have checked out the house property details. We have checked out the children studying in hostel allowances as well. There's one more option for called as Chapter 60 deduction, where most of them are familiar with. Most of the employees do declare ATC or ATD. So for example, for this particular employee Harsha, I'll select section ATD, medical insurance. For the entire financial year, 25,000 rupees is exempted. If he is 60 years and below. If he is more than 60 years, 50,000 rupees exempted. For example, even though I enter it without unknowing, I enter the actual amount as 30,000, you can see the qualifying amount is 25,000 only. So one of the advantage. So whatever the exemption amount is there, the software will take only the required exemption amount, not more than that. So one of the added advantages, like I was saying, if parents also are there, if they are more than, if they are dependent on you and you have spent close to 70,000 rupees, you can see only 50,000 rupees is considered for my calculation. So by mistakenly also we enter more, it will take the exemption amount. For example, if I have taken below the exemption amount, I will say I have just spent 30,000 rupees, it will take on the actual amount. So anything below it will be less, anything above it, it will take the exemption limit only. So I can click on save. And I can enter for others as well. If there is, you want to enter the housing loan repayment, the principal amount you want to enter, you can select the particular employee, which section ATC, as an option called as housing loan repayment, and you can enter it over here. I'll just give some X value, 20, and here the proof amount. This is very important. Based upon the bill amount given, only that much amount will be considered for my calculation, not the entire amount. That is what is called as calculate on proof amount. It is done. Similarly, different sections are there where investment is done. They can select the required section and make the entries and save. Okay. And there's also an option called as a national savings certificate. Okay, if any employees has invested in this, if they want to produce these details, that also can be entered over here. Okay, now I have shown you entries manually. Okay, in most of the cases you have so many employees already entered. You are telling entering them manually one by one is going to be a difficult task, a tedious process itself. To eliminate your work, there's an option called as declaration form. So what we'll do is under TDS details, I'll go to declaration form. I will export this. Under this itself, we have an option called as email, where you can email all your details to the employee, and they can fill the required declaration form and they can mail it back to us. Audio has been lost. Okay. Now what we'll do is basically we are going to mail this to all the employees so that they can fill all their investment details which they have done for the entire financial year and mail it back to us. Make sure the email ID is entered in the employee details. Okay. If not, you can give a support or call. We'll just make a setting and we'll give it to you so that directly you can email all these details to your employees. I'll just export one employee details and I'll show where you want to export it. I'll just show you how the format is. I'll click on export. So I have shown it in the desktop. So I'll come back, show the desktop. Rahul Sharma is here and you can see the format is given over here. Okay, this details needs to be entered by him. So I'm going to mail the same format to all my employees, and make sure in the mail you can specify to your employees saying that please don't add any extra columns to the Excel sheet, or please don't delete any of a column in the Excel sheet. We have programmed all the columns accordingly. So if there's any addition or deletion, importing will be a little bit problematic. So after sending these details, you can see declaration form, nothing but my investment details other than salary. He or she needs to make the required entries under ATC, ATG, and the National Savings Certificate, and one information sheet. Okay, you can tell this to your employees, telling that please don't enter PF under my ATC. That will be fetched automatically from the software. Okay, done. So my details have been entered and I can import the same to the software as well. Okay, there's one more option, 12BB, okay, with data. Department has specified a certain format. While the employee submits his declaration form, he or she also needs to submit form 12BB. I'll show you how it looks. It is done. Okay, I will go to the desktop. Okay, the format which the department has given us. Before submitting their details, you can see the rent paid to the landlord is also shown. I need to enter these details and I need to sign it and submit it to my HR or employer, whoever is handling our payroll process. Make sure this is collected from your end. Okay, here it shows all the details. This is the format which the department has given, and the employee can say, he can give a signature saying that whatever I have submitted is correct from my end. So make sure this also is collected. You can make sure a hard copy is also collected, and the soft copy can be maintained in your mail ID. Okay, so this is done. Now for one particular employee, I want to import it because for Rahul, the entries have been made. See, our software is only going to pick up that Excel sheet. Select the Excel sheet, import it to the software. It says you want to overwrite. Yes, it is done. So this is a much faster and easier way to sending all the details to the employees, and they can enter it and they can send it back to us. If you're saying, no, I don't want to mail it to them, I don't want them to enter and me importing a software, you want to maintain everything by yourself in bulk, even that option also is given. I'll go for my declaration form. I'll go for bulk export and bulk import. We are given both the options. If you want to mail it to the employees, you can mail it and let them fill it and send it back to you. If you're saying, no, I'm comfortable in entering myself in bulk, then go for export bulk. Select what details you need to enter. Click on export. Okay. So here individually, I need to enter all the employee details. Okay. You can see exemptions are given here, ATC is given here, ATG is given here, rent pay details is given here, house property details are given here, metro, non-metro, school going, children, hostel allowances, the list keeps on going. So this you can enter it by yourself and save. Once after entering this, you can import the same to the software. Okay, desktop, save. You can import the same to the software by clicking on bulk import. You can select the path. I'll go to desktop. Chapter 6 deductions are given, which we have entered it, and it is imported to the software. It's saying overwrite, yes, because I have just exported the same, not an issue. I'm going to overwrite it. Data imported successfully. After this, you can go to your more employee details and you can check all the details which has been entered. Okay. So this was about my entry, about my TDS details. Okay. Now, very important option is port details. In TDS, the three-step procedure, what we call port details, compute income tax, and port computers TDS to salary. This is the three important points which we keep in mind when we are doing our TDS calculation. Port details is nothing but including my salary, other entries other than salary, what I've entered, my house property details or income from any sources which I'm getting if I've declared in the declaration form, that I am going to consider for my TDS calculation. So I need to click on this. After clicking on this, if you want to view it, you can also come to view port details. Just click on it and you can see if the details are entered. Okay. Okay. I'll just port it again. The details were not there. Select them all and click on port. One second, it has not come. Okay. So I'll come back to my port details, select them all and port. We'll just check it out. Yes, my details have been come. So what happened, basically April month details were not showing. So I went to salary editor, I processed my salary, then I clicked on port details again. Okay. So since my details have been entered, next I'll go to compute income tax. So basically how much TDS needs to be deducted for the particular month will be shown here. Okay. You want to check out computation details, and income tax software will be open where I can check the employees overall details. If I click on three dotted lines, basically it shows the overall details of employee salary. If you want to bifurcate it and check it out, you can see main components, basic and DA, completely taxable. It is taking the entire amount for my tax calculation. If there's any allowances given, like I said, for HRA, the 3 steps is taken care automatically from the software. So no need to worry. And conveyance also you can see up to 2,000 rupees is taxable. Now like we were selling before, conveyance and medical reimbursement have been clubbed. A 40,000 deduction will be taken there. Here you can see conveyance is completely taxable. Okay, you can go for any employees. I can go for Rahul Sharma. For Rahul Sharma, here I can see child education allowances, hostel allowances. The value I'm trying to enter, but it is not taking because I have clicked on the option over here called as non-editable IT details. Once this option is clicked, I cannot do any of my changes in my computation details. Now since I've clicked on it, changes can be done. I can go to my allowances, make the changes. Okay, 2 kids, 200 rupees exempted maximum. It won't take more than that. Here also 300 rupees per kid. It is taking that much amount only. So the advantage is whatever amount we enter, how much must be exempted, that will be taken care automatically. Okay, you can save. I'll make the remaining entries. Save. It is done. I was under allowances. If there is any other allowances which you want to consider for your TDS calculation, a list is given here. Under this you can select. And the perquisites, this I'll come to a little bit later. Others, bonus, we have ex gratia, we have gratuity, we have arrears. So if there is any details which we are given for any of the employees, that details will be shown over here. Okay, here you can see leave travel concession. This is what I wanted to show you. It is showing taxable 10,000 rupees. If you remember, when we are starting reimbursement, I have given calculation. The exemption is based upon the bill amount submitted. Until unless I submit the bill amount, this amount will be considered for my TDS calculation. So I need to go back there and I need to enter the bill details as well so that the exemption will happen. Otherwise it is not going to happen. Okay, so we'll come back to this screen again. We'll go for others. Under others there are bonus, which I'm going to show it to you now, how that will be considered for my TDS calculation. Leave encashment also is there. We'll check that out as well. So first what I'll do, we will go for my bonus. Company details, click on bonus, click on save. This is my first setting. Here I'll just click on one more new month, May month, June month. For one quarter I'll just create it off. It is done. Okay, I'll come back again to my pre-salary transaction. I get the option called as bonus. Add. I'll select it as bonus, click on OK. So under definition part, if you want to create a simple formula, that can be done. And if you want to say no, I want to do manual editing, even that option is given. I will say for the month of April to April, a bonus needs to be given for the employees. And I want to consider that bonus for my TDS calculation. Okay, I've selected month of April as well. Now again, salary, dependent or independent. Dependent means this will be shown in your payslip as well. If you say I don't want this bonus amount to be shown in payslip, you want to give it other than payslip, click on independent. We get cash, DD, check or bank advice. So what I'll do, I will just go for dependent, let it be a part of my salary and click on save. It is done. Calculation part I'll go, I'll add the employees. If there are multiple employees, go for the import and export option given here. I'll give it as 20,000 for all the employees. Sorry, I've given 2,000. 20,000. Okay, so the details have been entered. And now I want to consider this for my TDS calculation. Click on TDS, select them all, click on compute. A pop-up has come. The pop-up says that this is one-time tax. One-time tax cannot be computed because I have not ported this for my TDS calculation yet. Okay, so what I'll do, since bonus is the one-time tax, I'll just save this. I'll come back to my TDS details. I need to click on port. So whatever entries you're doing, either it is salary or other than salary details for TDS calculation, if you want to consider that, right, make sure you port the details first. Once the porting is done, then it will be considered for my calculation. Otherwise, it's not going to be considered at all. Sorry. Okay, so since I have ported it, I'll come back to my bonus option. 20,000 is given here. I'll go for TDS, select them all, compute. Automatically, how much needs to be deducted is get deducted over here. The amount is come. It is editable as well. So I'll say I don't want to edit this. Let the amount be this much itself, and I'll click on save. It is done. So now this is considered for my TDS calculation as well. You want to check this out, so we'll come back to TDS details again. I'll go to view ported details. Under view ported details, in the month of April, you can see for all the employees, bonus will be included. Okay, we are including this as well. You can check it for other employees also as well. Okay, so I will close this. Now since we're talking about one-time tax, so bonus was one-time tax which we just ported the details and we calculated TDS for. Now we'll check out for leave encashment. We often tend to see most of the employees at the end of the financial year, they exchange their earned leave for money, and you want to consider that for your TDS calculation as well. For that, we'll come to attendance. I'll quickly make one earned leave entry and I'll show you how this can be mapped for TDS. Okay, so I'll come back to my earned leave. I'll click on the option called as leave encashment, carryover, effective from the month of April. Okay, so I'll make quite an entry. I'll make 20 leaves. I'll just give earned leave 20 for everyone. So I can encash them for money. Okay, so I have entered earned leave. I have given them an opening balance of 20 for each. Now I want to encash this leave. So I'll go to leave encashment. I will select, if you want you can go for multi-encash, or if you want to select only particular employee, select earned leave. I will say I want it for the month of May. Earned leave. So 20 leaves are there exactly in this account. If you want to reduce it to 10, you can do it. The changes can be done, but I want the complete 20 leaves to be encashed here. So I'll come back to my unit rate. If you want to create a small formula for this, that can be done. Or else, if you want to enter the rate, if you want to select 1 day basic or 1 day DA rate, you can just click on the rate option given here and you can select basic or DA or a single basic. It's up to you. Higher rupee. I will say I want it for my basic and DA, close. 870 rupees. So I'm exchanging one leave for the amount of 870 rupees. Show it in salary and save. The pop-up again, a warning message saying that he's encashing the all leaves. You're sure you want to encash them? Yes. Since again this is a one-time tax procedure, go to TDS, select it, compute. You get the same option. It says one-time tax cannot be computed. The same procedure, I'll just click on save here. I'll close this. I'll close this. I'll come back to my port details. Select them all, port. It is done. So anything you want to consider for TDS calculation, make sure you come back to TDS details and port the required data. I'll go to leave encashment. I'll select the particular employee. Okay. I'll go for my TDS calculation. Select them all, compute. automatically the software is considering for my TDS calculation. Okay, and again this is editable. Before clicking on save, if you want to enter any other amount can be done, but we prefer not to do this. Once I click on compute what amount comes, let that come and click on save. It is done. So again, this is a one-time tax. We saw it for our bonus. We saw it for leave encashment as well. Now let us see this, whether this is reflected in my income tax details. My computation details, another or income tax software opens. If you want to see these changes affected in our payroll, we can see that as well. Select them all, port. Okay, view ported details. Okay, that can be done as well. Okay, leave encashment is also included. I'll go to compute income tax. There are certain changes which I have done. Computation details. Okay, so I guess for an employee called as Rahul Sharma, we can check out the entries which you have done in payroll over here. Bonus is given here. Okay, leave encashment amount, I guess I have done it for other employee. We'll select that employee over here. I'll come under my others. Yes, leave encashment is given here. Okay, here again we have two options: leave encashment in service and leave encashment on retirement. Since this employee is still in service, for him tax is deducted, so it is shown over here. Okay. Okay, so this entries needs to be done here. And now if you're saying you want to include arrears also for your TDS calculation, I'll show you that as well. For that, I need to go to initial setting, option setting, under additional, so under features, I need to click on arrears and click on save. The first step which I need to do. Then salary transaction, arrears. I'll say I want it for the June month, April, May, June. Pay month is June. Reference month I'm given June because I want the software to refer June month for the arrear calculation, because that is the month where I go and increment their salary. I'm going to consider all the heads. Click on close. I'll come to employee for one particular employee. Okay, Padma is there. I will make the changes. Instead of 30,000, I'll give it as 40,000 here. Instead of 25,000, I'll give it as 30,000 and click on save. Okay. So next what I'll do, I'll come back to salary transaction. I'll come back to my arrears. Okay. I'll select the form arrears. I'll go to my computation. I'll add that employee Padma over, which is given here. So 2 months arrears, 10,000, 10,000, 20,000 is given here. In DA, 5,000 is increased, 5 months, 5,000, 5,000 per month it is given here. Now again, same procedure, select the employee, go for TDS calculation, 2 months, 15,000 total, compute the same procedure. There is no change in it whatsoever. Close, close, port my details for my TDS calculation. Okay, so this is done. So like we are seeing for one-time tax, there are so many options given here. If you want to consider that for your TDS calculation, make sure you port the details. So the porting is done. Now again, like we all know, after porting, I can come back. I'll click on arrears, TDS, 15,000, 15,000, compute. Done. Save. It is done. Okay. So After this you can compute. Porting, since porting is already done. Okay, if you want to port it again, we can port it. If you want to just check out the details, you can check it out. I'll come back again to TDS details. View okay, in compute income tax is done. Okay, computation details. So here, if you want to check the details regarding arrears for this employee called as Padma, click on Padma, go to 3 dotted lines, and under others, you can see, if I scroll down, under perks, wait 1 second, for which employee? Yes, this employee only I have given. Okay, sorry, main components, yes. If you want to see the increased arrear amount in our software, come to our computation details. Under that you get this drop down. Over here itself you can see the arrear calculation amount. Okay, you cannot see this anywhere else in the software. Over here I have given it for 2 months, so 2 months details are showing, and it is showing 10,000 rupees each for 2 months. If you're one more DA, we consider it as 5,000 rupees. You can see 5,000 is given. This is what is reflected in the software. Okay, done. I guess we have seen all the entries for our allowances, others, main summary, perquisites. If certain perquisites are given, certain benefits are given for the employee to the employee, that details can be entered over here. If there is any rent-free accommodation which is given, click on this 3 dotted lines. You can see the details are calculated automatically from the software, and the salary percentage wise can be selected here. And again, this percentage wise is done based upon this salary percentage calculation which is shown here. Okay, enter the cost of the furniture, click on OK. If there's any amount recovered from the employee, you can enter the amount recovered from the employee over here. The remaining amount will be considered for taxable. You can save this. I'll enter this details. Save. Okay. Similarly, we are given list of other options: electricity, water, sweeper, gardener, hotel accommodation. If there's any automobile, cars given to any of the employees, like your managers, that also can be given here if it is considered for their calculation. And again, based upon official duties, personal or partly official, the value of the perquisites will be fetched automatically here. If you say the engine capacity is more, you can select that. The value of perquisites also is increased automatically over here. So not to worry about that. Again, the amount recovered, if you want to recover the amount, you can enter it over here. Remaining amount will be considered for my tax calculation. So this is what we see under perquisites, we see under allowances, okay, and others as well. We'll click on save. Okay. For one employee, I had given leave travel allowances, LTA, but exemption was not there because I've not given the bill details for this particular employee called as Hra Kumar. So what I'll do, I'll come back here. I'll go to my bill details, and for this particular employee, I'll enter the bill details as well. Okay, I'll enter 1. I will enter the amount as well. Amount, bottom of the screen you can see minus 10,000 rupees is shown here. I can enter the same amount and click on save. It is done. Okay. So now, since I made certain changes in the software, I'll go to port data, select them all, port, or select only the employee which the change has been made. and compute income tax. The three-step procedure: port data, compute income tax, and port computers TDS to salary. And if I go to computation details, 3 dotted lines, for Harsha Kumar itself, you can see the amount is exempted here. So based upon the mapping which we have done, based upon the bill details which we have given, only that will be considered for your calculation. On the left hand side, what you see is called as tax meter. Whatever we entered in the payroll, that is reflecting over here. If you want to see any entries which you have done, you can click on 3 dotted lines and you can see over here. And like I was saying, provident fund need not be entered, that is fetched automatically from the software. Similarly for other employees as well, the same amount is given. Okay, entries have been made. Okay, if you go to the total tax, automatically the software is calculating. If you want to report on this, you can either click on Excel sheet or PDF. You can just cross verify it by clicking on it. When Excel is open, and based upon the entries what we have done, you can see. And if you remember, in the starting of this session, I was telling you about conveyance and medical reimbursement is clubbed. A standard deduction of 40,000 is given. This can be got under my statement of income tax. You can see directly before my PT is deducted, there's an option called a standard deduction under section 16I of A. Under that, 40,000 rupees has been exempted. So the report, if you want to give it to your employees, you can take the report over here and you can mail it to them as well. And if you want to cross check for your reference also, it can be done. Okay, same thing. We have bifurcated it, salary wise, ATC, ATD. Okay, we get this under our computation details. Under computation details, a computation report can be given. Under that, you can see a standard deduction of 40,000. Okay, and total TDS to be deducted is given right over here, and you can see. Okay, the details have been given over here. Basically, it fetches all the details from the payroll based upon the entries which have been made. That is fetched over here, and the calculation has been done automatically. You can click on it and you can see the entries what you have done. All right. Okay, and there's one more option under here, income from salaries. If you want to maintain previous employment details of an employee, at time what you need to do is number of employers over here, click on go, and you can enter their details. Either it's monthly salary, yearly salary, form 16 or salary certificate. And again, this is just for my reference purpose. Okay, you can maintain that as over here as well. Okay. So the entries have been done. We have seen the salary computation. We have seen one-time tax like arrears. We have seen bonus. We have seen leave encashment. Reimbursement also, the mapping has been done. That part calculation also is done. Now I can just check the summary before clicking on port computers TDS to salary. Okay. I'll click on chapter 6 deduction. If there's any entry done, you can check it over here. Perquisites, certain benefits given by the employer to the employee. That details you can check it over here. You can put it Excel sheet as well. Others, any pension received or bonus, you can check it here. IT summary, overall income tax summary. Allowances, you can bifurcate it based upon 1-1. Main components, the details have been entered. Okay, you can put this to Excel sheet and keep it for your reference. Okay, so like I was saying, the three-step procedure. One is port details, compute income tax. The last step is port computers TDS to salary. These are the three steps which we see when we are doing our TDS calculation in payroll. So based upon the entries done, based upon the salary entered, based upon other investments entered, Here in port computed TDS to salary, automatically month on month, this much TDS needs to be deducted will be shown here. All we need to do is click on port and click on save. You are saying no, for this particular employee Harsha Kumar, I don't want 4 rupees to be deducted this month. I want, instead of 784, I want 780 rupees to be deducted. So for that cases, go to standing instruction, TDS standing instruction, click on view, click on OK. For Harsha, instead of 784, I will say 750 rupees needs to be deducted. Remaining 34 rupees, let it be divided equally through the remaining 11 months. That can be done. I'm giving standing instruction to the software. Okay, I will close. Once a standing instruction option is given, once you selected the employee for the particular month, you can see green color is come over here. Basically what it means, once I click on port, only that much amount will be deducted, not more than that. For the remaining employees, you can see the actual amount is deducted. Save. I go to the next month, port, save. This can be done. If you want only certain amount to be deducted, go for TDS SI, give the amount for the particular month and save it. The remaining amount will be divided equally for the remaining months as well. I need to port and I need to save. It is done. So under TDS details, port, compute income tax, port, compute TDS to salary. This is a 3-step procedure. After this, we'll go to our e-return. Okay. Okay. Select the particular quarter. I'll go for quarter 1. Go for deductor details. Enter all the gray fields. No. Enter the remaining details. Give the PAN of the company. Deductor type, what kind of deductor you are. I'll say I'm company based. Enter the mail ID as well. Push these details so that it goes to responsible person details and save. Here the responsible details needs to be entered. Responsible person PAN also needs to be entered. Okay, mobile number mandatory, and click on save. So once my deducted details have been entered, next I'll go to my port data. Port data is basically porting what we have ported, port salary to TDS, that has been ported here for my calculation. So there's a small option called as default date setting. Click on default date setting. The option says every month what is the date that you deduct TDS, and every month what is the date that you give your salary. Here I'll say 30th of every month my TDS is deducted, and 30th of every month my salary payment also is done. And once if you click on 30/30, make sure you click on current month. Okay. Okay. Next, if in certain cases we see the TDS is deducted in next month, 5th is deducted, and the payment also is done on 5th itself. So in that cases, changes to 5th, click on next month. So what will happen? Next month 5th, my salary payment is done. On the next month 5th only, same on the payment date itself, my TDS deduction is done. But for our example, I'll say 30th of every month, my salary payment is done, and the TDS also is deducted on 30th as well. It is done. Next, we have two options. First option says that do not port those employees having TDS amount 0. If you don't want to port them, click on that. One more option says consolidated deduction for salary and one-time tax deduction. Yes, there are certain one-time tax deduction which we have done, like bonus was there, leave encashment was there. I want that also to be considered. I want that also to be ported. Click on port. Okay, it is done. So these two steps needs to be kept in mind before doing any payment to challan. Okay, before doing any TDS transaction, make sure this two is entered. Under bank also, whichever bank you're associated with, that bank details you can enter and you can save. I'll go to my e-return procedure. I'll just go to my deduction screen. Here you can see all the details of all the employees have come and sat here automatically based upon the entries which I have done, port computer TDS to salary. All the information is come and sat over here. So no need to break my head. All the information is here. I can go to the challan and I can do the payment. I can go to from deduction. I can bifurcate it. Month on month, if I want to do the payment, I can do it month on month as well. Select them all, create. Since this is for a regular return, I'll select 200 payable by taxpayer, cash or e-payment. Enter the challan number, the date. On or before 7th of next month, the payment needs to be done. Save. It is done. I went to from deduction. I created a challan. If once the challan, if you're saying I don't have the challan number, now I'm doing the payment, not an issue. Leave the challan screen blank. Create the challan, leave the challan serial number blank. Create the challan first from deduction, then go to your e-payment. Automatically, the payment gateway is open. The details are fetched based upon the details entered in the software. All I need to do is select the bank, what kind of payment I'm doing, net banking or debit card, enter the CAPTCHA code, click on proceed. So the payment gateway is done. Okay. After doing the payment, after 2-3 days, I can get the challan number, enter the challan number and click on save. Okay. Similarly, if I want to do it for remaining months, if I want to bifurcate them, you can bifurcate them. Select them all, create. Same. I'll select this, click on save. It is done. Last month is there, that also I'll select it and I'll do the payment. So my challan has been created. Every month on month what I did was selected all the employees for one particular month, all the TDS amount was clubbed together in one challan and I'm doing the payment to the department. So like we know quarter filing. So April month I've deducted, I've done the payment. Similarly I've done for May month, June month. Now I need to do this filing on or before July 31st. So what I'll do, since this is ready now, I'll close it. If you want to cross verify what is the TDS amount ported and what is the linked information, you can click on this and you can see. You can double click on this and you can see, yes, all the details have been linked, and you can put this to Excel sheet and you can check it as well. Okay. So after this entry is done, the next procedure is e-return. I need to download the CSI file. I'll click on continue, click on e-return. Okay. Okay. So basically we get two options. One is file validation successful or errors during validation process. In this you can see it has come file validation successful, and it also shows the path where all the required generated files is stored. Now once if I click on OK, a separate folder is created in our system. in whichever drive I have stored Saral PayPack, under that a separate folder called as e-return will be created. Okay, you can check this over here. You can check it in your systems as well. Here I get two forms. One is the .fu file which the department has given, which department has told us to give, that is generated automatically from our software, and one more is form 27A, which is nothing but the signatory proof of responsible person. Okay, the details are given here. You can see the responsible person Sadhana is here and the signature can be given here. Now what happens is 27A and .fu file will be generated. Now this I need to go update to my TIN-FC centers or Carvi centers. After updating this, I'll get an acknowledgement number which needs to be entered in the software. So I'll come back to the same screen and I'll enter my acknowledgement number or provisional receipt number which is given by the department to us. Enter it and click on save. So this is the normal procedure what we do for regular return filing. And again here we saw along with the salary other details which can be linked for our TDS calculation also been done here. I've just shown you for the first quarter. Basically we get all the information in the fourth quarter. When the fourth quarter comes, we send a mail to the employees telling them fill the details, port it to us. I'll just show you one more file. I'll go for my TDS itself. Okay. Here what happens, once I go to my e-return, if I select the fourth quarter, we get this option called as salary. In the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, the salary option won't be shown. Since we are doing in the fourth quarter, the salary option will be shown. These are the details which can be displayed in your form 16 as well. If you want to do any of the editing, it is not possible here. You can see the entries here, it is not editable. I cannot do any of the changes. If you want to do any changes, you need to go back to the software and make the required changes. Okay, you can select all this. You can export this for your reference as well. You can see all the details have been fetched automatically. 3 dotted lines. If the employees you want to select, the list will be given here. Select the required employees. Okay, go back, make the changes. Once this is done, then you can carry on with your final procedure, that is e-return, which I showed you in the first quarter itself. Cross verify this, everything is up to date, everything is fine with it. Then click on e-return and update the quarter 4 details to the department. Same procedure, .fu file will be generated, 27A, signatory of responsible person, that also will be generated. You need to go and update the same to the department as well.